Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Selena Hill, the Associate Digital Editor here at Flat Enterprise. And today we have with us sports and entertainment journalist Brandon Scoop B. Robinson. He's best known as Scoop. That's what I call him, FYI, guys. He currently works as the managing editor and columnist at Respect Magazine. He's also worked for places like The Source and Envy, thedj.com. His writing has been featured in Complex, Vibe, Ebony, AM New York. He's appeared on CBS This Morning, Pix 11, and Arise TV discussing topical issues in sports. And fun fact, he actually launched his career in professional sports journalism when he was just 12 years old. And we're going to talk about that because you were featured on NBA Inside Stuff.
With Amar Rashad.
Right. I'm just like, and I remember that too. So welcome, Stu.
Thank you for having me, Selena. We finally got it on the docket. You've been running, I've been running. But
I know. Definitely. Well, you just got back from NBA All-Star Weekend too.
I did. I stayed a little longer.
Let's just start it off right there because that experience must have been epic. Like, tell me, what exactly were you covering? What did you see? Highlights?
Well, NBA All-Star Weekend was in New Orleans, Louisiana. Was there 3 years ago. It's kind of nostalgic for me because my first All-Star Weekend was in New Orleans in 2014. And so basically, I got there Saturday night. I covered a lot of the lifestyle scene. So it was at Mitchell and Ness's party. Mitchell and Ness, the throwback jersey company, nostalgia company, was there. DJ Clark Kent, Jay-Z's DJ, was there. He produced Reasonable Doubt. Then Mike Phillips, he's the jazz musician on Hidden Beach Records out in Philly. He was there. Manny Fresh, Cash Money DJ, he was there. So really was just there getting sound bites and getting things done. And then there was the big game Sunday. You saw almost a 200-point scored game with Anthony Davis, who scored 52 points, a hometown guy playing for the New Orleans Pelicans. And shortly after the game, there was a trade. The Pelicans actually executed a trade, getting DeMarcus Cousins from the Sacramento Kings. And he's now a member of the New Orleans Pelicans. So there's a lot of pandemonium going on. You saw, Russell Westbrook throw an alley-oop pass to Kevin Durant, and everybody's talking about it, when they're melodrama post, Kevin Durant going to the Golden State Warriors. So, a lot of stuff going on.
What was your favorite moment?
So Glenn Robinson III, he won the slam dunk contest on Saturday. What was cool was in 2014, I covered my first All-Star game. Glenn Robinson III was somebody that I was covering when he was drafted in 2014. His dad is actually Glenn Robinson. He played for the Milwaukee Bucks. And he won. I actually got to New Orleans Saturday night, and I was watching the end of it on TV at New Orleans Airport, and I saw him win, and I picked up my phone and I texted him and said, congratulations. So,
wow.
It was cool to see somebody that you grew with, or that you started off, a guy out of Michigan, you saw him win it.
Wow.
Slam dunk contest wasn't the best, per se. You had your highlight moments where you saw DJ Khaled tossing up a pass to the Los Angeles Clippers, DeAndre Jordan, and he was Snapchatting it at the same time. And
that's crazy. You
saw drones in the slam dunk contest. It was kind of interesting.
Kind of different.
But
technology.
You got Snapchat and drones.
Wow.
That's huge.
I like that little Trump ending right there.
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of, how you launched your career,
yes.
I started off saying that, when you were just 12 years old, you were also featured on NBA Inside Stuff and Fox Sports. Let's talk about how a 12-year-old Brandon Scoop B. Robinson is able to elevate your career to that level. Like, how did that happen?
First and foremost, God's favor. I had a praying mom who had this kid who would not shut the hell up. And, in a situation where she's like, where do you challenge this? Where do you channel this energy? As a kid, I used to watch Ed Bradley on 60 Minutes.
As a child, that's crazy. Though.
Yeah, I'm Mike Wallace. I'm Ed Bradley. These stories and more on 60 Minutes. So, as a kid, I used to come home from church with my mom. I would have a newspaper in hand. She would cook dinner. I would read the newspaper. And after my mom and I would eat dinner, I would go in her room and I'd watch here in the New York metro area, Channel 2, watch CBS and watch the late Ed Bradley, who was also a child prodigy himself. And I tell people this all the time, his question of why. He had that deep voice, why? So for me, I always liked asking questions. I always enjoyed just the process of the pressure of deadline. And what ended up happening was my mom's friend, her name is Alicia Robinson. She had told my mom about this audition at Chelsea Pier, Manhattan, and they were looking for kids to be personalities for a local access station called 1660 AM Oswald Radio. They taped out in Jersey City at the Liberty Science Center. And what happened was they were looking for about 8 kids to be personalities. And so there were hundreds of kids that were there. I auditioned. I nabbed the first call. Second call was at Dangerfield's Comedy Club in Manhattan, and I knocked it out the park. So what happened was they had me and a few other kids be personalities. So we were doing like commercials for like Crash Dummies. Remember the Crash Dummies?
Yes,
so
I do. You weren't the Crash Dummy.
No.
Okay.
So what happened was we ended up we did like a Crash Dummy commercial. Then around that same time, the Nets, they were going through a rebranding period where this is when they were still in New Jersey. They had the new logo. They had the first draft pick in '97, Keith Van Horn. They had John Calipari, who's now the University of Kentucky head coach. And they were really just trying to revamp their whole look. So they had a kids radio show, and they were looking for a kid who knew about basketball, who was personable, et cetera, et cetera.
So you were already studying the craft at this age too. So it seems like a perfect
studying the craft, but also being in the right situation as a kid. This is Black enterprise, so my family they are entrepreneurs. They were only Black-owned Athlete's Foot in New York State. They owned an Athlete's Foot sneaker store on 25th Street, Lenox Ave. On that, and also another store, shoe store called Men's Walkers. And what happened was, growing up, I used to see athletes coming in and out of the sneaker store all the time. So I used to see Dominique Wilkins as a kid, Mike Tyson, Hakeem Olajuwon, just that practice of being around athletes and stuff. And I just was obsessed with basketball. My stepfather, he's from Chicago, and I fell in love with basketball in '91. The Bulls won their first championship in '91. So I see this guy named Michael Jordan. I'm like, he's dope. And so it was a situation where all those things combined, Ed Bradley, journalism, Michael Jordan, basketball. And then I played a little basketball when I was younger. My uncle was a commissioner of parks in New York City for citywide basketball in Riverbank State Park, and he also played at Riverside Church. So just the interest in basketball was always there. Plus, I'm tall and I'm Black and I look like them. So it's an
that helps
a little bit. Stevie Wonder can see that, but at the end of the day, it was favor. It was right place, right time, and the rest is history.
Wow, and that's quite a history. But it seems like all those pieces were definitely put into place, and thanks be to God, it elevated your career. Okay, so now I want to talk about fast forward to now.
Okay.
I understand that you also used to co-host a weekly sports and entertainment sports show at CBS Radio, and you had guests on there like DJ Khaled, Mark Cuban, Dr. Ben Carson, right? So this was a podcast, and nowadays you see everybody either has a podcast or they're trying to start a podcast. And this podcast that you were doing for some time before you launched your own seemed to be doing really, really well. You had all these high-profile celebrities. So I want to ask you, how did you, what advice would you give to others looking to start a podcast? And how in the world did you start booking people like DJ Khaled for your podcast?
Major key! So to answer your first question, Brown and Scoop, co-hosted with Jake Brown, and I was also a contributor at CBS Local Sports and CBS Sports Radio. Basically, we had an idea where he had a show previously called Brown and Troop. Troop rhymes with Scoop. And Ben Troop, a former NFL tight end, he and Jake had a show, and it did all right. But Jake wanted to go to the next level, so he and I went to Hofstra. Next level, matter of basically during my time at the Source magazine, and during my time I was a contributor to MaxPreps.com. MaxPreps.com. While I was there, I developed relationships with the Cleveland Cavaliers' Kyrie Irving. Jabril Peppers, who was a standout at the University of Michigan. He'll be in the NFL draft at this point. Basically, what I did between those two entities, between Max Preps and the Source magazine, was basically take my writing to audio and video. So a lot of those relationships I had, they were pre-existing, even back to when I was a kid. So the key is, the major key, as you secure your bag, is that you develop those relationships. You make yourself memorable. I think a lot of times people just want to be on the scene with a camera, a video camera, and a microphone. But what makes you memorable? What makes you stand out? And I think again, the God's favor part is so important, but I think actually doing the work.
Definitely.
To be honest with you, I think at this point with podcasts, in my opinion,
yes.
I think they're very oversaturated.
So just really quickly before we move on, would you even advise people to start a podcast?
Yes.
So you say start it, but how do you make it different if it's oversaturated?
I think you make it different because you get the blogs to talk about you. So I think that if you're a journalist and you're coming in, the biggest portion of it to get listens is make sure that you're getting your content aggregated from magazines. So you find a Selena Hill and other people who are writers, and that helps both the site that is housing it as well as the clicks for your personal blog, your podcast.
And you did that well because your podcast was featured on places like TMZ and other major outlets. So I guess basically by it being featured in all of these other mainstream media outlets helped you to get guests and continue to book it, right?
It's relationship,
relationships
and silly stuff like a guy named Rashawn McLeod saying that when Michael Jordan scored 48 points on him, he was singing Anita Baker's "Giving You the Best That I Got." So stuff like that, or my guy Samaki Walker who told me that Kobe Bryant punched him in the face over $100.
Like stuff like that goes viral. I mean, you make it sound so easy. It's not that easy.
It's not
to
easy.
Get celebrities to say something that will go viral. I don't know how you're doing it, but you're doing it.
I'm sure. I promise I didn't send a bottle to their house for you.
Okay, so another thing that you're doing really well is branding yourself, and I wanna ask you, why is it so important for sports and entertainment journalists like yourself to have a strong social media presence? And FYI, before we even started, Scoop was over here putting pictures on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Like I just did like a Snapchat and an Insta-Snap. He did all 5 of those, and I'm just like, it's all about branding.
You can't say branding without brand. My social media brand manager, Eric Salvery, says that a lot, as well as my guy that handles my video content, Emmanuel Grant. Basically, what it is these days, that's the standard. You have to have some sort of video, you have to have some type of photo to supplement what you're doing. In today's society, in my opinion, and which I do think is back in this instance, I do think that people want to see the behind-the-scenes look of what you're doing. I don't care if you're Barbara Walters, AJ Calloway, or God himself. People want to know what you're doing behind the scenes.
So if Jesus comes back today, we gonna need him to snap it up while he's like descending from heaven?
Listen. Did you ever?
Is that what that means?
Did you ever see the meme where it had him in the mirror with the phone, and at Christmas it says birthday selfie?
Stop! You have to send me that. You have to send me that.
No, but I mean, I think in today's society, people want to see the behind the scenes look. People want to see that you are who you say you are. That's what a blue check on social media says you are who you say you are. And I think that the content that you post supplements that. So to give you an example, every Saturday on my Instagram channel, you can follow me at Scoop_B. I have something called Scoop's Top Plays. I'm sitting in my bedroom and I'm doing video of, the best that happened during the week. And then I have the B-roll to supplement that. What happens is it got so popular that a blog called 16 Wins the Ring, actually they aggregate that on their site every Monday. So it's like, your brand, you may work for a corporation or publication, but these jobs aren't as loyal as they used to be. You're not at a place.
These jobs ain't loyal.
No.
Telling?
No. But I think at the end of the day, you got to have something that makes you stand out. Like my bow tie, that's my signature. The bow tie. Maybe a catchphrase that somebody says. Rest in peace to Stuart Scott. He was a guy that said things like "booyah" and Stephen A. Smith. Disrespectful. So I think there are certain things that carry over into the digital space, and that's where you use your following to do that.
Scoop B. Robinson, thank you again for stopping by Black Enterprise. Just let everybody know how they can follow you again.
Make sure you check out my website, scoopb.com. You also check out my weekly podcast, Scoop B Radio. You can visit scoopbradio.com. You can also subscribe on Google Play, iTunes, the TuneIn app, Stitcher app, and follow me on Instagram, Scoop_B, Twitter, Scoop B, and Facebook.com/ScoopB. She's the best. Keep watching out for her.